4 o'clock. Had something come up, couldn't come out, so it did give me a few minutes to play with this. Got these in T340 stainless. They're 1 3/4 primaries into a 2.5 collector. I really wanted a 3-inch collector because I'm gonna be running 3-inch exhaust on it. You kind of use the basic 100 horsepower per inch, so I'm thinking 3-inch. But it's thick enough here that this collet, I can get a 3-incher and come back a little bit, and then I'll have a 3-inch V-band clamp there to put. Actually, these are really nice. I could have found a 1 7/8 with the 3-inch. The problem is they did not make them in the Fleabay Amazon special price. So I had to look around, and I finally found them, and they wanted 4 figures for them. And I said, I'm not paying that much money on something that I can fix myself. But very high quality welds, stainless, they're heavy wall, very stout unit. So I don't remember which buyer, but you can Google them. They're a turbo header, and yes, they're gonna have to come up and forward because I cannot clear the frame rail with as low and far back as I have this engine. So I'll show you that over here, and you can see why. In all the hundreds of pictures I've looked at online of V8 swap Styrian Conquests, all the YouTube videos I was able to find that people have done this to this car, I have not seen one of them that has a #1 cylinder right above the strut tower. My thought process on that is anytime you have weight in front of or higher than the center line of your axle or the center line of the car, kind of like an old bicycle spinning on a stick, there's centrifugal forces, and you have moments of inertia where this engine is acting like a lever on this chassis the further away I get. So it is very centered. That's the thought process I had, and it is going to cost me extra work. I will have to pull that steering box like I said, but I don't want to make it where I can't steer it. I already told you all about that. But this engine sits very low, very far back, and really all of the running gear between the rear end sits from there forward, and almost all of the engine is behind the center of that wheel. So that's where your wheel turns and rotates. Anytime you can keep your weight in between those two, they're supposed to handle a lot better. At least that's the theory and what I've read, so we're gonna stick with that. But I had a few minutes and mocked up some headers on the mock-up block, and then I just had to see them on an actual engine, so I put them over there on that just for looks. But we're gonna keep at it. I was gonna say, in that time lapse when I started in with the Sawzall, I started caring less and less about this firewall. I think what I'm gonna do, since most of the firewall is coming out anyways, I'm just gonna smooth firewall this thing. It'll make it a lot easier than trying to match everything. So basically under the sill where the windshield wiper motor and rods fit, from there it's just a nice gradual line, and I'll just cut it all out. The new firewall actually may be a little bit further back, because originally I was thinking I would have an air filter that I wouldn't have to cut into that sill, but it ain't gonna happen. So I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. Instead of messing with all these holes I don't need, and jagged edges to clear headers, I'm basically probably just gonna cut all of this out. It'll be one solid piece to work with, and then I can come back in, and I may push this firewall back a few inches so that I can fit extra stuff underneath the dash. I'd like this to have AC, so it'll give me a little more room to hide a small air conditioning box underneath there. We hadn't been inside her in a while. I need to Need to, oh, see my seat? Yeah, it's a good seat. And yes, you see that header? This is the brake pedal. I already talked about it, but my pedal box, if I come back with the firewall, this seat may actually come back a little bit from its original position. So being a two-seater, won't mount the seat probably there. I'll probably slide it back, and then when I rework this steering shaft. But with the headers that showed up, I can finally work on more than just a transmission tunnel area, and I can start mocking up what's going to become my dash. I'm thinking about going, I started pricing a bunch of gauges, and by the time I add the gauges that I want up and monitor everything that I'm planning on keeping track of in this car, it's going to be getting old. It's going to be easier. Holly has a digital dash, and you can configure it to, I think, up to 13 gauge inputs. You can also, it's digital switch. I'll probably still have some rocker switches in there, but switching it to the digital gauges, you can toggle fans, pumps, things like that, all through the gauge. And it is digital, and it does cost a pretty penny, but if you start adding up tacks, speedometers, oil temp, oil pressure, water temp, tranny temp, differential temp, you start adding up all those gauges, it's easier because that digital dash is configurable. So when I go in and make the dash, I'll have a nice, I think it's 12-13 inches of screen, and I can play with it. So I got to start saving. I'm thinking I might have to sell a dirt bike or something for that, but we'll get there. So the kids haven't had a chance lately to be in the shop a whole lot with me, even though this is their project car too, because school has started, and if they want to grow up and be little engineers, they have to go to school, right?
Yeah.
But they're eating it up. We have 80 subscribers. I mean, is that a lot? It's getting up there, but we need more, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to get some more subscribers. They got something they want to tell you. What do you guys say?
Click the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and smash that thumbs up button.
Yep. Keep following the steering build. We'll keep at it.